There we go. This was they fall back. That's whoops. Whoops. Okay. Actually, normally this should come up with, yeah. This is actually being run in Forth. So one of the things, and I might as well start by going through Hello World, and then I'll skip down to, but one of the things, the most fundamental aspect of the environment is if you just hit enter and so forth, you can write stuff and it doesn't care. It assumes that it's between you and other human beings. So, whoops, I'll put down a dayline and timestamp. But here's Hello World. It's very much a notebook, which is, Brad has, I linked to a talk by Brad on how useful having a good notebook is. So there's Hello World, just a string. You can see that essentially you got three windows here. I call this text. It's really sort of used as a log. Any result goes there, and state is static. It's just useful lines and so forth. And what I'm doing here, instead of hitting return, I'm hitting F6. Okay, and you can see that it's a list, and this is very much evolved from Ken Iverson's APL via Arthur Whitney's K. And one of the most fundamental things is you can see it's a list, a return to list, and it's of 12 items. And to go just do a quick demo here, well, here obviously is fourth. I can define the fourth word, and now I have that word. And now I get into some of the APL-ish sort of stuff. This made it 7, a list of 7 strings, 23 long. If I do, I think maybe just for make it clear, I don't want to spend much time on this, but that's 7. And actually, I made a little word because I do it. I use that's whoops. Yeah, because I do it so often. You see, it's 7. Each of those, that's row each. But if I go and I take that and I flip it, and then I click, I went and reversed each of these. This is monadic each. And then I catenated each, and that's a dyadic each. And then if I take those and I reverse them, then catenate that, I now have, except it doesn't show so well because this was really old. Anyway, that's quick. Whoops. Demo, and here, this is what you get when you except I screwed up the GitHub before, and I need to learn more about GitHub. But this goes through some of the essentials. But one of the things is, let me go, this is what you get when you download, which is actually all my work on things. I just sort of, as I work through things, I go, and where are we? Yeah, this is what I said I'm going to talk about that I put up here the other day. But now here, get down to the real beginning of things. Well, let's get, one of the things is my universal excuse is that it's irritation driven development. So whenever anything bombs, it's because bombing is not as I write things down that bomb all the time. An overall notion is just having electronic paper where I can either obviously write notes down for myself or execute things. A fundamental notion also very much having this it's the delta of programming or progress per unit time to maximize that for myself. Guy named Sandy Steyer, who's one of the founders of, along with Joel Kaplan of 1010 Data, which is totally based in K. And a couple of years ago, they sold their company for $500 million. So Steyer's one, but he described CoSy back in the K days as my cockpit, and I think that's a good. It's my interface with my computing resources, whatever. And these are some notes. One of the things is there's sort of a conceptual level of horizons, and I think one of the great things about Forth is that it recognizes that language is this depth. It isn't just a horizon, and APL has very much the idea that you have this God-given, committee-given vocabulary that you know, it's up to the central committee to define new words and so forth. Fourth, it's even if you can go and make the silicon yourself, but obviously there's this stack. There's the fourth up, and this is Riva fourth, which was a brilliantly project at the time. And then on top of that, there's this vocabulary of dynamic lists. And then on top of that is this GUI interface, which completes the circle, which is one of the things, actually, I think I probably have a note here about, yeah, I said already about the hierarchy. And one of the things that both Ken Iverson and Chuck here insisted on having an interactive environment. And I can't make forward progress unless I have that. And I mean, that it just has to be, I have to be able to write something down and execute it for me to work. Let's see, one more, any more things to, oh, I think this is a good way to think about the relationship between, if you will, the scalar, looping, repetitive languages, Forth and so forth, and essentially most of all the scalar languages except for APLs. It's APLs are almost, I think of it like being like a Fourier transform domain. In a sense, you're working on entire objects and so forth, and having functions on transformations on entire objects, rather than point-wise. It's in a vocabulary of lists of operations on lists. delimiting strings. And then we get into how much I don't know, which we'll get back to. But I mean, these are just things that I've written down. Yeah, APL, one of the things is the vocabulary is invariant to size. Anyway, I think that going up to my agenda that I wrote down here, yeah, now I'm going to go and do something which is probably politically incorrect, but the thing is that an awful lot of what I do is motivated by oops, how did I, that's where I wanted. Ah, that was a wrong. Okay, this I almost am just as happy if you can't really see, because this is my private, this is my actual everyday notes, and actually you'll see that I've got notes going back to 2012, but just sort of as a check that things are working. If I F6 this, yeah, it says 1. Fine. One of the things to note, I'm hitting enter, so just split that. But now that is actually a 1 that's on the stack, and so 1 dot. Let me review what these different keys are. You can't hear what the difference in which key I'm hitting. But F6 evaluates the line and expects a CoSy result, like the hello world. If I hit Shift F6 instead, yeah, there we where it evaluates it just purely and leaves it on the stack. As a matter of fact, I guess I can show that Shift F6. Oh, I dotted it. I didn't. I actually. Anyway, yeah, it showed the 1 dot. Okay, proof that it's 4th. Actually, the demo that I like most interesting is here. You got 1 symbol. You got another symbol. You've got a 3rd symbol. And let me Shift F6 that. Yeah, and it come out and stuck this last symbol on front of the first symbol, and what's that about? Anyway, let me come down to, because one of the things that I wanted to get, these are notes, I even get to these are, I get to the NOAA conferences that go on in Boulder, and so this is my notes from those. And come up here to today, you can see what my regular notes look like, and hit enter, put down a timestamp. Okay, and when I hit a timestamp, it just saved everything. So it now, saved that. What I really wanted to, which touches on the sorts of actions that Ting uses a lot, is you'll see. Well, here's one right now. Yeah, I went to In-N-Out Burger yesterday because we don't have them and so forth. But this word here, let me come down, and because of some crap on this machine, on my things, where are some of the, There really is some junk that is around. That goodbye stuff is because of crap on the other machine. I should have just written it here. I didn't know that G4th used S quote when I made this, but I made this word paren tick. Where's my? I need to get over so I can see it. I should perhaps do this on the other. No. But question mark goes and looks through all the source files and finds wherever it finds the word help. Here, this is the definition of that word. It puts a nil character on the stack, and actually the part that is important is that this goes and takes everything from the nil on the stack and turns it into a list. So I wanted to, what did I hit here? Yeah. Okay, I wanted to show this is actually how I keep my accounts. And so what I have is here's a floating point, the timestamp, and I have to turn that into a floating point list. Take it off of the floating point stack and make a single item out of it. Then tick, this left tick is says the next word is a token. Essentially makes a one word string, and then the form of my ledgers is from, to, amount, and then any comments and so forth. So this has turned this into a list. What the paren does is, well, it puts the a nil down on the stack, and then essentially it just executes all of this, and then this goes and gathers everything that's in the stack up to that point and turns it into a list. So we've got a list of let me go and store that as a, whoops, need a space, T0, and I have some of these words which Sam went through. Can go into some detail on that. That saved it just because I want to shift. Yeah, let me go there. That's where I wanted. Okay, T0. F6 that. See, it's a 5-item list, and actually, again, I have. Let me do this as an actual thing. Tick that, and do the tick M is do it on each of these items. Do row on each of those items, so you see the length of. Well, most of them they're 1. The one this here is 2. Everything's just scalar. Okay, what I wanted to go and in a sense really show, and this is why this is useful having this this static section here to put things like where's oh, okay, here we go. Text. The text there is, it's all stored actually in a dictionary. Again, this stuff is online. It's on my website, but one of the things that's really useful about Forth syntax actually is that you can break it apart real easily. Put a comment symbol. That's Riva's comment symbol. And I like that because it's symmetric, and an awful lot of life is about symbols. So actually, what this did is this went just and saved the copy of text. It said every time you execute something, also it saves your environment. So it's saving a couple of 100 kilobytes of material. But here's where we get into these sorts of things. Let me move this over and include that LF, well, VM, but splitting things into lists is still, oh, gotta remove this. Backspace. And now this looks the same, except there's a paren here, but now every single one of those lines is a separate item. It just split it on all the line feeds. I returned that as this variable. Let me take this out. Split it here. You can see actually the syntax is Forth. So this went and retrieved it, split it on line feeds, saved it as a temp, looks for this string, takes this string, and returns all of the lines. Yeah, all of the lines that contain this starting character here, and that tends to be my account entries. And then I went and taking that list, and each again of those is a item. There are all of my account entries essentially that are to or from cache and so forth. So enough. We go back here and okay, that's actually my demo portion. And a quick demo, and now questions. It was with trepidation that I finally, because I didn't catch it, live, which I try to do, that I got Sam's talk, and I think he really hit some of the really consequential things that make CoSy CoSy. One is the modulo indexing, which simplifies a tremendous amount and also eliminates any possibility of having arrays going out of bounds or anything like that. It automatically extends items and so forth. And the other thing that he hit on was the fact that in these lists of lists, all of these are dynamically. This is, in this demo, I don't know, I probably created and destroyed, well, I know thousands of objects, because there are a couple of thousand lines just in my text. And when it goes and splits those on things, I should go and well, I think, I don't know, how am I running on time? How many? 5. Oh, okay. Well, I was going to go and show, instead of just splitting on a line feed, you notice these day lines. I keep around, maybe here if I see, I didn't see day line in there. Anyway, I very commonly will split on day lines. Well, hell, I can do that. Tick, TEXT. Now, the main, everything is in a list, in a A dictionary is a list of two lists, the first of which is names, and the second of which is the items. So, oh, how did I get? I better go and split that. Yeah, I just wanted to go F6. Okay, this is why it just did a save before. I must have hit, I obviously wrote something that was wrong. Oh, here, I need to, this is where I am here. So restart. Whoops. Oh, RESTART. That's why things have to be, I'll skip that, but in any case, the thing is that you can split on any phrase you want. So that will, in this case, split it into all the days for all the years and so forth, and then I can do searches within that. So this is what I'm saying. It's sort of an isomorphic process to what Ting does, searching genomes. Anyway, I'll leave that and go to, if there are no questions on that, I will finish with something which I'm pretty sure will bomb, but it's good demo of what I don't know, which is enormous, much greater than what I do. I don't even know Windows well enough to know how to cause this not to bug. That should, whoops, where am I? Yes, here we go. I'll end with this. Don't know is infinitely greater than what I do. I screwed up GitHub. CoSy's up on GitHub, but I don't even know how to go and revert to get rid of the last update that I failed. So what I'm doing is going in, if you will, showing this has reached this level of practicality. What I need is other people that know that infinity that I don't, and get interested enough to flesh it out with yeah, I think it bombed. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we're back. So anybody who's got any suggestions on to what to me is a much greater thing, particularly when you have a system that has been created for myself without not for a boss. And so its use is very much to keep, obviously, even these trivial things like my expenses, my accounting. That's not trivial. That's actually the highest value. That's why a company like 1010 Data is worth $500 million. But making a language pool is the question. So anybody got some feedback? Hard problem? I see some nods.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Oh, and I invite you, obviously, to, if you know GitHub, I think it'd be quite easy to integrate GitHub with this if you know what you're doing. And so anybody who wants to get online and give me